Welcome back to the Playbook. I'm Taylor Mountain. I'm joined today by Danny Mitchell, running backs coach and run game coordinator with University of Alabama, Birmingham. Danny's journey spans multiple championship roles, from school records at UAB to leading offenses abroad and developing players across all levels. We'll unpack offense, leadership, coaching culture, and his global perspective on the game. Danny, great to have you on the podcast.
Taylor Mounts' college roommate. I'm throwing that in there. It's the biggest one. I throw that in there.
Yeah,
that's why we're doing this. That's
yeah.
a good one.
Well, you're an expert in your space of what you do. And Danny, if you could just 60 seconds run through your resume, your background, why you wanted to start being a coach. That's probably going to take more than 60 seconds, but
I'm going to do it. I'm going to time it right now. 60 seconds. Here we go. Number one, so football coaching. I've coached every level from high school, every level of college football, professional, been in the NFL twice with two organizations, and now I'm at UAB, which is a team in the American for you guys that follow college football. My dad has been a high school football, baseball coach. He's at 45 plus years. I think he's going on 48 years. And so, yeah, that's actually how Taylor and I first met too. Him and I went to Willamette University together. I went to Willamette because I knew I wanted to coach. And I didn't go there. Yes, I went there to play football, but more importantly, I wanted to play under the head coach there, a guy named Mark Speckman. Mark was the first person to hire me right after my senior year. He took the Menlo College head coaching job, and he hired me to coach his quarterbacks and help call the offense with them. So that's the starting point there, Taylor. I hope that at
that's
least
right. Menlo. I forgot about Menlo.
Yeah.
So you've coached high school, college, NFL, internationally. What is something that has some of the things that have in common across all those levels?
The game. That's a great question, but I think the cliche is people are going to say, hey, football is the same all over the world, but it truly is. Success in the game is the same at every level. And what do I mean by that? And this is going to sound romantic and cliche, but it is about how you build your culture and your team, and specifically football, you being obviously a successful basketball player, but you know this as an athlete in general. When you have a great culture and you create a great team, specifically in football, because it takes so many different people, you'll have success. And I can say that from someone that has coached teams that have been across the continent, over in Europe, where we've had teams where we've represented 17 different countries. So you have to pull them all together. And then why can I also say this? I'm saying this in full confidence. I get to wear this sweatshirt, this logo here that it says Hall of Fame, because those were great teams. As a head coach, I never lost a football game out there. And I didn't do anything. I was standing on the sideline the whole time. I didn't run a play. I was a backup quarterback at Willamette. I wasn't anything. I was the holder. We remember those videos?
Great hold, Dan. Great hold.
But in this game, to answer that question, Taylor, the football player, if teams were to play like me, we ain't winning any games. But when I've gotten to lead these teams or be in positions where I infect a team and show them what this game is truly about, man, it does go across all levels. And I've seen it happen. And the consistency, hopefully, for people to believe that, because people will say it, but the consistency is in the results. So yes, it is about culture. It is about that. But at the same time, I can say all that. But if I wasn't wearing a sweatshirt that says, hey, ultimately, you know what this sweatshirt says? I freaking win. We win. And it's not we win. And man, that's consistent at every level I've got to be a part of.
I'm going to do some quick hitters. No, don't ever think it. It's going to be one answer.
One answer. Give it to me.
Best coach you've ever worked for and why?
Tom Martinez. Real easy. Belief, number one. He was a man. People that don't know Tom, so Coach Martinez, junior college coach at College of San Mateo. He's really well known for being Tom Brady's coach. When I was 16 years old, I got to go up to his camp as a player in high school. And my partner that I was playing catch with was 3-time Super Bowl champ at the time, Tom Brady. And the other guy that was in that camp was a Kent State quarterback. His name was Julian Edelman. And Julian ended up obviously playing receiver, was a Super Bowl MVP. There was a lot of great players in there. But obviously I say that I don't fit the category of those guys as a player. Coach Martinez treated me the exact same. And actually, I'll tell you even more. You know this, Taylor, how close he was to me. He took me under his wing, and I told him I wanted to coach, and he said, all right, I'm going to do whatever I can to invest in you. And so I played baseball before I played college football. I played 2 years of baseball in a high school in San Diego called San Diego Christian. When I was doing that, I was traveling all over the country with Coach Martinez because he believed in me and said, hey, man, I'm gonna show you that this isn't just about what level you play at or how you play the game. It's how you teach the game. So hope that answers it. I know that was a quick answer, but
Hardest environment you've coached in?
High school, when I was at the Bishop School, because I was told a lot, you can't. We played with 30 guys on the roster. There's no JV, no freshmen, and how San Diego football works. You keep winning, they keep moving you up. Last year at Bishop, we're playing the largest school in San Diego in the finals. We led the entire nation in offense, not just San Diego, all of America. Why was it toughest? Because it was a lot of, you can't do this, and we showed we could.
One coaching myth you do not believe in.
One
coaching myth you do not believe in.
One coaching myth I do not believe in. That there's a direct path in this. The cliche in this is GA, analyst, position coach, coordinator, head coach. That's not my story. And I don't believe in that because I've gotten to go against guys that are in the NFL Hall of Fame that have made millions and millions of dollars coaching the NFL and winning national championships at Ohio State and all these different places that have these giant logos that had this path. Again, I'm going to say this in full confidence. We beat all of them. So I don't believe in that. I don't believe I think that's a myth. That's the way you have to get to that next level. No, I think it's, again, goes to something very simple. Someone believed in me. And so I try to instill that in the rest of the rooms I get to work with.
One habit every great player has.
I think you act, and I'm not just saying this to you, but I'm going to tell you this. It's an unrelenting desire to win. And what does that mean? It means, especially nowadays, and I'm going to put it into, this is going to sound goofy, but I've said this to kids all the time. Nowadays, when you play on video games, you can quit anytime you're losing. And I was just playing NCAA.
I do it all the time. I'm undefeated for like 35 and 0.
That's right. There's guys that will, okay, you know what? I'm losing. Oh, I'm gonna rage quit. I'm getting out of here. That's not what a great player does. I say that because Taylor, I'm going to use you as remember when you played Oregon that week when you guys played the University of Oregon, you had a big scratch on your eye, and they were talking about it all over. That was nationally televised, I think, when Willamette was playing them, and they're talking about that scratch on your eye, and they're talking about it being from, it must have been from the game before. No, man, that was from me tackling you from hitting the game winner against Concordia. I remember you guys played, or Corbin, I believe.
That was I think it was Corbin. I hit the game winner, and you were first to tackle me in the court.
Yep.
And then I had 23-9 against Oregon for everyone, 23-9 against Oregon.
And I say that because Taylor, that game, I remember this. Again, I was a fan sitting in the stands, and I was the first one on that court when you hit that buzzer beater. I probably should have been penalized for being halfway out there when you shot the ball.
It was Division III. There wasn't a lot of security.
You guys were losing that whole game. That's the other part. And there was no quit. And I use Tom Brady as a great example. 10 years ago in the Super Bowl, 28-3. I loved his mic'd up. I show that to as many players and teams that I get to be a part of because you hear how he talks to his teammates, how that whole team was talking. And there was no lack of belief in them fighting to make that comeback and win. And that's the same thing from the best teams or the best players all the time. And that's win or lose. And I think there's some great guys that have been on the other side that have lost games that have that exact same mentality, but it's not over for them. So I think that's the number one trait.
I want to hit on the Tom Brady example. I think this is pretty cool and not a lot of people get insight into. But even when you were 16 and he was at those camps, what was his work ethic like and being around him? And what kind of person was he as an individual, not only a player, but just as a teammate of all those guys at the camps and in general of what you've heard and what you've been around?
I saw a great sense of humility from a guy that had at that point had won 3 Super Bowls. He has won 7, obviously. Our receivers coach actually coached him with Tampa Bay. He was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers receivers coach, guy named Kevin Garber. And one thing that Kevin talks about it with him is the competitor that he was. And the thing that stuck out to me again goes back to the humility of how he took coaching. To watch him be there with a high school kid at that time and be with these other guys and be out there when he could just be, a guy that showed up at a camp and, hey, I'm shaking hands. The guy was a perfectionist. I remember I was running routes for him and he threw a ball here, but he wanted the ball here. And just watching him react, and the reaction wasn't this perfectionist reaction of anger, oh, I can't do it. It was a reaction of frustration that he's not to the level that he expects himself to be at. And I don't think he probably ever reached that level in reality. In argument, it's the greatest of all time, but I bet he would go back and say, man, he would want to be perfect at it. But it's not, and again, that sounds contradictory. I don't think he's a perfectionist, but I think there's a competitive nature that he had that I think the greats all have. I don't know if that answers the question.
No, that's great. Okay, I'm going to go to another segment, truth or myth.
All right.
And then we'll go on. I want to learn more about UAB specifically, but okay, truth or myth? Culture beats talent.
I think that's truth to a degree. Truth to a degree.
You have Michael Jordan or Tom Brady, it's different, but
yes,
collectively, I understand.
If you and I were playing 2-on-2 versus Michael Jordan and LeBron, I think we'd have a great culture because we're best friends, but eventually their talent's going to take over.
Yeah, of course. Players want to be coached hard.
That's a truth. That's a truth. Whether they know it or not, I believe that. I believe coaches in all reality want to be also coached hard. I think that's also a myth of coaching is the coach knows everything. I think a great coach, the first thing they recognize is they don't know everything. And that's something I try to do every day is I would share that with our room. Hey guys, I'm going to do the best I can, but we're in it together. We're working together to try to make us the best we can be.
You cannot win without stars.
Oh man, that's a total myth. We saw that in the national championship. We see that
I love that.
Yeah, every
relationships matter more than schemes.
I think they go hand in hand. I truly believe that. I think your scheme will show the relationship of a team. I truly believe that. I think the way you do things, the way an offense comes together, the way a defense plays, it shows the relationship those players have, and the scheme will come to life from that.
That's great. Okay, I want to get into UAB specifically in college football in general. You came to UAB with Trent Dilfer. You've had a previous relationship with Trent, and then Trent lets go, and Alex Mortensen gets the bump to the head coach. And you've been there 3 seasons. How has the game of college football, both on and off the field, changed just in that 3 years that you've been there?
Man, it's changed completely because I've been here since the total shift of what college football has become. It has become, let's put it where it really is, as black and white as it can be, it's become pro football, right? The NIL deals, I think that's awesome for the players. I truly mean that. I think it's great that they have an opportunity to support themselves, support their families. And nowadays, let's not shy away from it. This is life-changing money that they can get paid. So that shift is definitely something recognized that has also shifted how rosters play out, right? Especially, and you bring up UAB, a group of 5 team. If you look at the past, now I'm going on year 4, our starters on offense every year, our top contributors are all playing Power 4 football. And you can go all the way back from the very beginning of when I first got here in 23. That's shifted because what it's doing is you're creating opportunities for guys. What you're also finding is guys that maybe didn't have an opportunity somewhere are getting new opportunities to play at our place. And even going into this year, we have a running back that was a top tier recruit out of high school. He played a bunch in the SEC, and he's going to be holding a very significant role for us here. That, again, he held a significant role with Georgia, but it'll be a different role. And I think that's what the game has shifted to, where guys are actually, unfortunately, it's looked at sometimes in high school recruiting like, oh man, my opportunity to go to college football is getting overlapped by the portal. I don't believe that at all. I actually think your opportunity is even higher now as a high school kid, because what you now have is the ability, like what we didn't have. If we, let's say we bought, here's the truth, Taylor, you're a really good Division III player, right? In today's world, and what you did again, you already mentioned it. You scored 23 points against Oregon, right? You're not staying at Willamette.
I don't know why Coach K didn't call me. I was ready to go to Duke.
That's right.
But he didn't call me.
Like, it's creating opportunity, right? And whether it was going to be at Oregon or not, but what you just did is it's showing the ability for guys that maybe didn't have an opportunity to play on a bigger stage. You get an opportunity to play
or late bloomers.
Yeah, exactly right. So
and this is maybe specific to UAB, but just college football in general. Do you think the way that you coach players has changed because some of these guys are making a lot of money? I always look back to when a coach is making $10 million and the quarterback's making $4 million. It's pretty hard to, as a 21-year-old, if I was making $4 million as a 21-year-old, I don't think I'd be very coachable. Maybe not be the right word, but you understand what I'm getting at? I mean, I do. That has changed across the college football of how coaches coach players because of how much money's involved?
I don't believe it should. And here's why I say that. I think that's exactly going back to what you brought up before about culture and brought up about what makes great teams. And it's specifically this sport too, right? Football is where the big money is, and obviously basketball too in the NCAA. But you still have to be a great teammate. You still got to have all those intangibles. And what it really has done, in all truth and honesty, it really makes it easy for our job because we get to pick based off that. So I actually think if you do it again, there's no right way, but I do believe if you do it, if your intentions are right as a coach and your intentions are right as a player, the money is going to come. The reality, that's the truth. And so I don't believe that it changes how you coach. I coached, I get it. And a lot of people don't understand that European football. Wait, what they do that? They pay them too. And we paid our guys too. They made more than I did. And I didn't coach them any different than I coached a high school kid. So I do think that, and it goes back to what you said. Do players want to be coached hard? Absolutely. Because you know what's also getting them that paycheck? Them being at their best. So if I were to change the way I approach coaching them, because, you have more zeros at the end of your bank account now, man, I should get out of coaching. I'm the wrong guy. So I don't believe that.
Can you take me through a week of game planning, week by week, a sample week that you have at UAB? I think, again, from a college coach's standpoint I know this because I represent a handful of college coaches, but I think a lot of the average fans doesn't understand the amount of work that goes in week to week. Can you put in a sample week of preparation that you guys go through from Sunday to Sunday?
Yeah, I can speak on our half of this, but I think everyone has different preparation processes. That is one great thing about Coach Mortensen. Obviously, he was at the University of Alabama for 9 years under Coach Saban, and he had been a part of 3 national champions. One of the great things I see about him is his detail to prepare, the way he thinks through things. I would say I can give you the cliche answer of, hey, on Sunday, we go through and we watch formation cut-ups. Monday, we're putting together a normal down plan. Then we're getting to red zone and third down. A lot of teams and a lot of people at this level do that, right? I think we have support staff at this level. We have people that help expedite that plan together. But ultimately, it still comes. That's why I said what I said before. The game stays the same. I still think there's got to be intentionality in how you're preparing. It's got to go, when you're preparing your team, you have to know your team first. You have to know your identity first. And if you start there, the game plan itself isn't just about the X's and O's. It's about how do we put our best players in a situation when they play on Saturday to give themselves the best chance to be at their best over and over again. And I think that's a big reason. I don't shy away from this. And maybe I'm speaking out of turn for Coach Mort, but I will say that's a big portion of why I think he got the head coaching job. And we don't shy away from this too. We haven't had winning seasons. I haven't been a part of a winning season here yet. But his preparation process, we've been successful offensively because of that process. And I would also say he's done a great job of putting our players in a situation to be successful. And it's shown whether it's in the numbers or you also see it with players moving on, right? Our best receivers now going to Oregon from last year. The numbers wise, he's going to the University of Oregon. Our All-American running back, he's at the University of Virginia now. So I got to coach last year, the first team All-American as a return. That with our D-line. Coach Sam Mills, who coached in the NFL for 16 years. 2 of his D linemen are now playing Power 4 football. So yeah, I think there's so many other things that you can see how that preparation process has grown to show success.
How do you guys from week to week keep the players and the program steady, whether it's after a great win or after a bad loss? How do you keep the work going day in and day out and not so much worry about your record and what you guys are doing, but focusing on day to day? Is that in this day and age with, how kids learn? I mean,
Yeah.
do you think that is more or less difficult of trying to keep them attentive, keep them all that?
Yeah. I'm going to answer that question from all my experiences, not just UAB, because I think that this can help in all of it. You talked about culture being a huge portion of how a team's successful. And I do believe more so than ever, that's where it's so important for specifically how college football is now. If your culture is set on, hey, just the success on Saturday, we all know that this is a business that you have to win it, right? That's the point of this business, right? But if it's the sole focus and it's all you rely on, then ultimately you're going to do this as a program, as a team. And I don't know Coach Cignetti. I'm going to use their example as a great example. Our previous running back in 2024, he's with Indiana as well. There's another guy that had a great year in 2024 for us, who was actually splitting time as the starter at the beginning of this past year for Indiana, Lee Beebe, and then unfortunately had an injury, a season-ending injury. But the thing that I think the whole nation's seeing about Coach Cignetti is he has the same answer to every question. It has nothing to do with them winning that day. It's the process that he takes every day in every moment. And I think that's so important. And ultimately, as you start to stack those things and that becomes your focus, eventually the results will come. And eventually, a lot of times, this people shy away from this too, but I do believe eventually happens really quickly if you truly buy into that. That's a great example. I can tell you from my own experiences, my first head coaching job, I took over a team that was 4-8. We went undefeated. Our focus wasn't, hey, we're going to try to go and win the national championship. Heck, you remember the quarterback that played for me. He was our roommate too, Josh Dean. Josh and I went out to Germany. We were going out there, hey, let's just make this fun for those guys. And that was our focus the whole time. And then now all of a sudden you start to have success and you start to build off that. But if you keep the focus, that's the cliche, the main thing. Our main thing was, hey, let's just keep having fun. The results take care of themselves. And that's so cliche to say. But I also think when your focus is that, it makes it so much more fun for everyone because now everyone's bought in and you're creating something that wasn't there before. And that's what's cool about coaching every season. As a season starts over, you start 0-0, but you get to restart that whole process and you can start to build off of it. And man, if you get everyone to buy in, a lot of times it's going to come back down to that those 4 quarters that you play. You got a bunch of dudes that are fighting for something different. A lot of times that scoreboard aligns to it.
I think that's true, whether at football or business. I think so many people worry. For me, look, I'm in a revenue results driven business. And I think so many people, to your point, that focus on the win are going to ride the highs and lows, right? Rather than just keep putting the work in, keep the steadiness. I think that's something that I really had to learn as my career has gone on. And so I think whether that's true in football or life or business, I think you hit the nail on the head. Look, you've spent time also in the NFL with the Steelers and the Bucs. What did the NFL environment kind of reinforce to you about standards of work, standard of coaching, standard of professionalism, et cetera?
Obviously, I had brief stints in there, but I will tell you, it's very impactful by the leaders of those 2 organizations. Number one, with Coach Bowles being around his staff during that time, and Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator during that time. You could sense what was important to them. And obviously, Liam, you could see that culture came to life with the Jacksonville Jaguars this past year. talk about a guy that's one of one. Coach Tomlin is unbelievable in that. That was the most impactful of a culture I've been a part of anywhere in my life. And again, you felt it when you were in there. You could see what he was pouring into every single person in that room. I'll tell you this, what was so impressive to me being with the Steelers of what he really valued during training camp. And I would have thought that the cliche, and I truthfully, I thought this too. Hey man, the focus of training camp is going to be get our football team ready to roll. We got Aaron Rodgers here, and yes, that was part of it. But more importantly to him, every single day, the first thing in the meeting he would talk about is, hey, how was the food last night? We got to make sure that everything we're doing is at the highest of standard. Did you guys enjoy it? Are they having fun? Hey man, let's make sure, let's get Xboxes up there for the guys. Well, it was raining one day. Hey, let's make sure that gets covered. It wasn't talking about the schedule, wasn't talking about how practice was. It was about creating an environment that was prepared for success. Man, that's something that I think the best of the best will do. And I will argue that Coach Tomlin is arguably the best, if not obviously one of the greatest. And that's why 19 years with one organization, never having a losing season, that's culture, man. That's what culture is.
Well said. What's something the NFL does better than college football?
I would say, well, the cliche one is talent is unbelievable, right. But I would say the time management, they do a great job because of the schedule changes. It's a long season for them. Obviously, I haven't been a full season in the NFL, but I do believe that I saw a lot of similarities to Europe. And again, that's all I can speak of. And I say the similarities because you're on time constraint in Europe. When you're coaching in Europe, a lot of the players out there will have full-time jobs too. So you have the night to prepare them. So a lot of what you have to do has to be prepared before they're ever in the building. And that's what I see with the NFL as well, because the turnaround so quickly that once that season starts, really they're playing 20 plus games. If you include preseason, which they're doing, you include all the roster changes, camp, you got training camp, and then if you're making a long run, I mean, you're playing 20, like I said,
I mean, yeah, they just finished. Yeah.
So I do admire that about them. And what it was for me was very reaffirming of things that I thought would work and that I saw work. And I saw that, you know what, it is the same game. It is the same. And the things that I valued, they are the same. And I saw that the successful organizations, they take the same approach.
What's one thing that college football does better than the NFL?
I think there's on the outside, I think people will say it's the creativity because you do see different styles of play. And I would argue that the NFL coaches are extremely creative as well. The difference is the discrepancy of talent, right? In the NFL, the 32 teams, there is still it's like the movie Any Given Sunday, right?
Yeah,
like
the margins aren't very big.
No, they're not. And I think that's the unique part of college football. There is a significant difference between a high tier Power 4 top 5 team and a group of 5 team that doesn't have those same resources. So the creativity has to step up for that not as talented on paper team as the top tier team. So I think you see a difference in approach from teams schematically, as far as just finding ways, how do we hang in some of these games? So that's something that's why I'm sitting here, right? That's why I'm sitting where I'm at right now. Trent Dilfer found me because I use that example of coaching. You asked me, hey, what's the hardest environment? Well, I was coaching at Bishops. Was the hardest environment of that wasn't coaching at Bishops. It was awesome coaching at Bishops. The hardest environment was when we played with 30 guys, but really with those 30 guys, you can only play with 14 because I'm not going to put a bunch of ninth graders out there when we're playing the largest schools.
Yeah, of course.
And have them have to play against these guys that are going to go play Division I football the very next year. So the creativity has to come out to where we're going to present different pictures that make it a little more unique and harder for another team to adjust to. Whereas at the NFL level, I don't think you have to do that as much, right? You rarely see NFL teams have to get into where you're splitting out linemen. That's why I'm sitting here too, right? Coach Dilfer found me because we ran some funky sets when I was in high school football to try to honestly have our kids be in a position. Number one, jokingly, I wouldn't get sued by their parents for putting their kid in danger. But at the same time, hey, we got some pretty good skill players that we can figure out ways to isolate them and create these matchups that it equalizes the game. And so I would say that's the difference in the game, because you see just the discrepancy of talent has to be unique with how you present that.
Let's say if you were sitting here 10 years from now, what is something that you would look back and say, I'm really proud of this, whether that's win, losses, relationships? How have you constructed your career in terms of what's important to you and what's not?
I think the thing I would look back up, I know, and I say this all the time, that's why I'm very proudly wearing this sweatshirt. It's not that it says Hall of Fame. What it is, to me, it's a validation of belief. And what do I mean by that? I was part of 3 different organizations out there in Europe that we coached against some really awesome coaches and played some really talented teams. And we had a bunch of guys that were willing to believe in something that was a little different and that had a different approach, but we got the results that everyone was seeking. And so to answer that question, Taylor, I think that what I'm most proud of is embodies everything you asked about relationships. Yes, that was a huge part of it. Yeah, I'm diving into those dudes as much as I can. But again, at the same time, I made a bunch of mistakes, but so did they. And so I would say the thing I am most proud of is I was willing to be different, to be vulnerable. And and arguably at the same time, it was easier for me because, and it probably sounds weird, but I look different from everyone out there. So it was already easy to be different because I was different. And so I could dive into being different right away because it's who I was. And heck, man, if we would have failed on the scoreboard, I would hopefully be able to say that hopefully those players will say that, man, we poured everything into it. And the other part is, it's like Kanye said, we'll never know. The results happen.
What is last question? How is UAB going to be this year? Give me a prediction. Daniel, of the University of Alabama Birmingham Blazers 2026 college football season.
I can tell you why I'm fired up that Mort's the head coach of this. What we all expect this team to be is tough. I can't tell you what the results will be. Nobody knows. But I will tell you there's going to be a toughness that is going to be built into this team. And again, toughness isn't they're physically dominant. Hopefully that comes out. But there should be an attitude of a relentless, never giving up fight type of team, a fighter type of team that people believe in. And we have a tough schedule. We play a really good conference. Obviously, our conference was represented in the playoffs this past year. Arguably,
and 3 people from your conference John Summerall went to Florida from Tulane.
Yeah. Coach Golish over at Auburn.
Went to Memphis to Arkansas. Then from South Florida to Auburn. Do you find that the American Conference is right on the cusp of, I would argue, with those teams, Tulane, Memphis, South Florida, you guys, going back to any given Saturday, right? I think college football is one of those things that it doesn't matter really how good you are. I think any given Saturday, somebody could win.
Yeah, but I think that's what this conference does represent, is everything what I said. Hopefully what we represent is a culture of toughness. This conference is that, right? Last year, not this past season, the season before, Army won the conference.
No, that's right. I forgot about Army. Yeah.
Those guys can play. Navy can play. This whole conference represents what this game truly is about. It is this mental, again, it's this mental relentlessness of fighters. And I think that's, man, if you have that you build that into who you are as an organization, you have a shot versus anyone. And I think there's times that gets portrayed as when coaches say it, I probably come off of it saying it too. It probably comes off as arrogant, or it comes off as something that it actually isn't. But at the same time, that's a competitor in us too. right? That to me is why I enjoy being here too. I like that it's crazy to say, I like that we are 4-8, 3-9, 4-8. Good. Don't believe in us. We shouldn't believe in us right now. But in reality, if you look at it on paper like that, but if there's a culture of toughness, culture of fight, and that's who this team becomes, you got a shot to do something special. You got a shot on Saturdays to make maybe an accolade comes out of it. Man, that's how this game will always be. I think I can talk about goals and all that, but man, everyone has the same goal. Everyone wants to go undefeated. Everyone wants to hold up the trophy at the end. The toughest ones will.
That's great. What's the first game?
We're at Illinois. So
At Illinois, for all you sports fans next year, University of Alabama, Birmingham, at Illinois. Danny, thanks so much for joining the Playbook. It's weird to talk about this because we know each other so well, but that's like you do a podcast. We're like, hey, thanks for doing it, man. Really appreciate it. So anyways, my friend, very appreciative. These are fantastic insights on leadership, football life, and I appreciate you joining.
I got one last thing, Taylor.
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
I want to say this for all coaches, man. I do believe this too. I think one of the big cliches, and I say this for anyone in life too, and maybe this is great advice or not, that it's not just about a meritocracy in this profession of, hey, you win and the next thing's going to come. That's not a guarantee in this, right? We see guys that have won Super Bowls, that happens and they don't get the next job or any of that. But I will say that I do believe that if you have the approach to be a fighter all the time, you'll make it. And I might be preaching myself. I actually probably am. I've gotten rejected more than I ever gotten picked. But I will say this, if that's the mentality you have and you have the ability to fight like that, you'll make it. And not only that, if you're willing to adapt and you're willing to do whatever it takes to figure out a way for your unit to be successful, that to me is where it becomes special. And that's something you asked about. What am I going to hopefully be proud about? Hopefully by the end of this thing, man, that's what I can look back at and say, you know what? By the end of this thing, man, you look back and say, man, we fought. And I've seen it happen one time already throughout my career. I'm now going on 21 seasons of coaching this game. I am not going to shy away. I want to coach this game at the highest level as possible. And I'm not going to shy away from this either. It's not because, hey, I want to coach in the NFL because the NFL is the highest level. No, I want to whip their butts over the seas. I'm coming over here to whip their butts here too. And we're going to do it here first. And it's going to be one step at a time. But I wanted to say that before.
That's a great soundbite. Again, you should do more interviews. We should do more of these podcasts. All right, Dan, thank you so much. That's the Playbook, episode 4.
The Playbook.